Good evening, India. This is Roopa Ambekar from Washington, D.C. And thank you so much for joining us today on our session about revenues and marketing. For the next hour, I have lots of good information to give you guys. And along with that, I have an amazing person that's going to come online and give us loads of information about what's going on in the beauty world across the world. So we have Mark coming on in a few minutes, and I'm really, really excited to talk to you about some basics of marketing and revenue to begin with. A lot of business owners run their business in coma. Don't take this personally when I say this. I've done this myself for many, many years. And I say this because we have a certain number of years we've put in the business. We have a certain number of clients that are coming to us. We have a certain amount of revenue we're generating. We have a good team. And guess what? We get into coma. That means that we're happy with where we are. And something like COVID-19 is going to come around and shake everything up for you. I wish most of us were sitting on lots and lots of cash reserves, because today, the person that has the cash reserves is the king. You know, he didn't have to worry about how the business is going to move forward. He didn't have to worry about how to pay his staff. It'd be a nice vacation of 2 months. But that's not most of us are in the situation. We're not in this situation. Many of us are struggling to figure out how to navigate through tough times. So marketing and revenue generation is something that each one of us, whether we know how to do this or not, must pay attention and work with ourselves, our team, to develop the skills that we need to be able to stay profitable and cash rich. This is a thing that every business owner dreads. Many of them in India that I know of, friends of mine, we sit and discuss. The last thing we want to do is look at our numbers because it's boring. But a few years ago, things changed for me. When I was looking at my business through my accountant's perspective, it didn't look that great, right? It looked nothing the way I expected it to be. So it was shocking for me. And I had to take time and invest time in learning how to do basic marketing and revenue generation skills. And today I want to take this time to work with you and give you some of my knowledge, some of my learning, and talk to you about things that you can do in your business tomorrow that make a difference for you, your team, and end of the day, the industry itself. So wishful thinking and hoping that business will come is not the best way to run a business. And instead, knowing how to do marketing in simple methods, it may not cost you so much, but it may make a bigger impact. Tools that can help you today, being in a social world, these are things that you can start to work on and make a big difference in your life. So I'm going to go on and start a slideshow for you. And if you give me a quick second here, I'm just going to share my slides with you. I hope you're able to see my slides. Let's start the show. So welcome again to Results with Roopa in collaboration with Professional Beauty. And this is our second session. And today, again, we're talking about marketing for salons and revenue generation. Some key considerations that we want you guys to have when you are looking at your revenues is, what is your approach to money? As a business owner, what is your approach to money? Are you a reactive business owner? Are you proactive, or are you creative? Now, when I say reactive, proactive, and creative, what I mean is, do you do marketing or do you worry about revenues when you have low sales? Or when you did not have a month that you expected, when your month didn't go as well as you expected in terms of revenues? If you react to something that is a low income or a issue with the staff or something, and then go out and do marketing, you are entering the market with desperation. So many times salon owners make the decision of marketing when they are in need of earning more money immediately. So the best solution, the quickest fix, is to give away discounts so that you can attract customers. When you do reactive marketing, the issue that you will face most is that you are attracting customers who generally will not or cannot pay the amount that you generally charge for the service in that time. Now you are changing the behavior of your customers, saying, you know what, I really can work with a lower price. The biggest issue with this is when you close the sale and you go back to normal, the customer is not willing to pay that money that you are actually charging. So when you are in a reactive mode, you do lose your good customers. Now, on the other side, if you are a proactive marketeer, that means every single day, every single month, every single year, you have a marketing budget, you have a thought process, you know how you are going to generate your revenues, right? And you have a plan, and that's proactive, that's going out there and getting your customers. Now, creative is the next level. Once you get used to this proactive marketing, once you're getting a good response and you're loving going out and reaching out to your customers, you can start getting creative and push. Instead of having a push marketing where you are pushing content, expecting people to come, you can start to work with pull marketing, which is customers are looking for you and your service, and they come out and reach out to you versus you reach out to them. The best thing that
Roopa, can I think it's a great model that you're talking about, and you mentioned something about discounts, and many people will be thinking, look, my customers have not been working for a while, I may offer discounts. And I think generally the view throughout the world is that is not the best thing. As you rightly said, that discounts, once you've lowered the price, it's difficult to get it back up. Better to offer added value. Right. Better to offer added value. And that also, as you will know, having opened up yourself in Bangalore, that your costs have probably risen. You now can't probably treat quite as many customers at the same time. You've had to invest in hygiene and other facilities. So we want particularly if you're a high-end salon or spa, by discounting, you could reach out to customers who perhaps long-term aren't your core market, and they could displace your core customers.
Right.
So very careful. I wouldn't say never give a discount, but if you are doing that, make sure it's the weakest time of your week. If a Monday or a Tuesday or whatever your week time is, or much better, give value. Right. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. When you give value, you raise your brand. When you give discounts, you lower your brand. It's such a wonderful input from Mark. Mark, guys, I want to introduce you all to Mark Moloney from Professional Beauty. He's the CEO for the Professional Beauty Global, and Mark is from London. He's right now in London. Mark, say hello to everybody.
Hello. I've been told off by my wife for missing the very bland English cooking of Sunday lunch, but good evening, everybody in India.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Mark, and we'd love to have your inputs on multiple things that we want to discuss today, especially when it comes to marketing and revenue.
Sorry, I interrupted you. You carry on.
Oh,
good presentation.
Please jump in as you need to, because we want to give our viewers maximum value to their time here today. Okay, so moving on to, once you understand the importance of constantly marketing and constantly being creative with your marketing, the three key things that you would like to consider is, are you clear about what you're doing as a brand? Are you clear about your purpose? Are you clear about your goals, your financial goals, and what is it that you want to achieve through marketing? That's very much something that we need to look at first, and that's your clarity. And then we want to make sure that we build competency within our team to be able to consistently do the marketing and sales and raise your revenues within the salon, within your spaces, as well as you're going out and doing marketing. And the third, but the most important part of this is whatever path you choose to want to do marketing in, you want to be consistent with it. Now, there is something else that a lot of people don't consider in our world, is the services mixes. I want to introduce you guys to these three categories of service mixes called the high value, the primary, and the easy to buy. Most of our menus have them, but we need to be conscious of what they do to our business. A high value service actually has, low effort. You don't put a lot of effort into being able to provide high value service, but your returns are low, or high, I'm sorry. And the primary, services which are high effort and high return. For example, your basic, facials is a primary service. Everybody who takes a facial has a regularity in doing that every 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks. So these are your primary services, and your easy to buy things that are your waxing of that nature. That's an easy to buy service. That people need them, but your margins definitely are different when it comes to a facial or a waxing or a haircut. So
and
you
Roopa,
want
I think that is particularly, salons in India are starting to open up. Yours in Bangalore is opening up. Other parts of India are going to be opening up. It's a great time to look at your treatment menu again, isn't it? Because
right.
One, you'll want to do it for two reasons. One, of course, for hygiene purposes. There might be certain treatments that
Right.
You might not want to offer.
Right.
But also, as you touched on, am I going to be a busy fool? Now, of course, there's going to be huge demand for waxing and hair removal as customers come back and desperate for that. And you want to meet that demand.
Right.
But it also, I would urge everybody to look at their treatment menu again, not just from a safety point of view, obviously, but also what is profitable. You have to mix what the customer wants. She'll want to come in and have certain immediate services, especially if she hasn't been to the salon for a month or two, three.
Right.
But also, what am I doing this? Why am I offering this now when I make no money on it and my customers don't really want it either? So that's really important to look at that again.
That's a very important question. Also, most of the people, when you look at the walking your customers from, one place to the other in your menu, easy to buys are the place where you have maximum number of customers, and they become your primary customers, and you want to walk them into a high value services, so that you are constantly generating income and upgrading your customers and your ticket value. So the service mix plays a lot of important roles in these aspects. Now, coming back to understanding our customers, and I won't take too much time on this because it's quite simple to understand, but it's something to consider when you are getting out there and marketing. The amazing customers are people that are giving you most of your cash flow, which is your high value customer who are paying you on high ticket items, and your bread earning customers are again, high effort and high results, and your convenience customer is someone that gives you, there are a lot of them, but your income through them is low. So you want to have a mix of all these customers in your menu. And when you market it to, who are you marketing? Are you marketing a service to an amazing customer or a breadwinning customer or a convenience customer? It's something that you need to really, really think about when you are stepping foot and marketing your service. Now, let me talk about magic of numbers. Numbers don't lie. People say that all the time, and we understand that. But numbers are important for us to be able to position ourselves better tomorrow. You look at numbers today so that you are better tomorrow. One of the things that we make mistakes in our goal setting is we never aspire fully and completely. When someone asked me 10 years ago, what do you want to be in 10 years? It was the most difficult question for me to answer because my expectations of me was quite low. If you ask me today, what do you want to be in 10 years? I paint the picture with all the colors and everything in place. I'd go on forever because I've imagined that world and I know where I want to be in 10 years. Now, do I get there, not get there? How do I get there? That's different. But do I have the courage to want to dream? In businesses, we want to have the courage to dream about what is the aspiration, what is our aspiration out of our business, the one that we give our time, effort, and life and a purpose to, right? Now, the easy way to figure out how to be aspirational in your business is knowing what is your predictable income, what's happening this month. Based on that, you know what's happening next month and the month after and the month after. You put a 5 or 10 or 15% or a 20% to it, and that's your predictable income, right? Now you ask, you look at predictable income and you set a breakthrough income, which is possible, that your goal that's possible, and yet it's something that you need to work hard to get, right? So when you look at predictable goals plus your big breakthrough goals, that's what gives you your aspirational goal.
And Rupert, look, so there'll be people around the world and around India saying, oh, it's okay for Rupert to say that. Look at her. She's obviously very successful. She has business in Washington. She has business in Bangalore. Very beautiful woman, very smart. Her English is even better than Mark's. And what I would say is, it doesn't matter if you run a one-room salon in a small part. We all should know what our numbers are, whether you're a millionaire or a humble business.
Yes.
And I think we can all start, can't we? We can all make that. And so many, so many people look to successful people. Look, some of us are lucky, right, but many have started from nothing and have had a dream. But it's whether your dream is big or magnificent, we should all, what you're saying is so important, that we can all have a goal, and that goal can be just 5% or 25%. And I think one other thing is we should share that goal with our team, whether our team is one, or whether our team is much bigger. That is and start somewhere. So and when that goal is attained, then get a bit more ambitious. Right. Sorry.
You bring out the goal setting part with your team, and it's very important, Mark, to attend to the fact that our team has to work with us to make that goal a reality. And many of us put goals on them and say, here's what our goal is, go out there and get it. I think the better approach is to how do we sit together and create a goal for ourselves that will meet and exceed our expectations, and how will we go achieve that together. I think that makes it's a make or break of a difference in a business. When a business owner is sitting with their employees and working out a goal, people will participate in what they contributed for. So I think that input from the team is so much important. Thank you for bringing that point up. Moving forward, I want to talk about the profit science. I always say to people, business is a science. But it's a little hard to digest that, because most of us, when you ask someone, why did you start a business? It's usually, I've got something to give to the world, or I want to do this, or I want to do that with it, or it's a purpose thing. We forget to say that we're in business to make money, or we sometimes hesitate to say that we're in business to make money. It's a what do you call it's in return, it's money in return to the time and effort that you're putting and the life that you give to your business. And just as business is a science, profit is a science too. And it's just a few basic things that you want to consider when you're looking at profit. You look at the price that everybody else is offering for your service, right? That's called the market price. You look at the market price. It's in varied degrees, or any service that you take. And you look at price per unit. What is it costing you to give that service, right? And make sure you consider all costs and not leave anything out. And then you look at how many of those units, how many of these facials, how many of these waxings, how many of these services do you need to do to be able to attain your goal? And therefore, how many leads do I need to acquire? Now, if you look at profitability as a science, and this is your formula of figuring out what is your unit cost, how many do you need to sell, and therefore how many leads do you need to generate? You always, if you have to sell 10 facials, you go out and look for 100 customers, because 10% is a given in marketing. If you do it right, 10% is a given. So when this becomes a science, it's so much easier to deal with it versus trying to figure out this whole sense of how do I get into marketing, and how do I succeed in marketing, or how do I succeed in the money, how do I get the return on investment that I've put in marketing? So profit is a science, and it's as simple as this. So I'm going to move on to something more interesting: effective marketing strategies. Right? There are two kinds of marketing strategies that are widely accepted in the world of marketing, and one of them is hygiene. When I say hygiene, I don't mean the cleanliness or the washing your hands with COVID-19. What I mean by hygiene is, when you think of the word hygiene, it's non-negotiable. It's something that you do every day. You wake up and you brush your teeth, you shower, you get ready, you dress yourself up, you have your food. These are things you do for your living. That's hygiene, right? Stuff that automatically happens in your life that you don't have to think of come under hygiene. So in marketing perspective, hygiene marketing is something that we should be doing every single day, every single month, every single year, as long as we're in business. It's not negotiable. You have a business and don't have a website, not negotiable. You have a business and don't have a social media pages, not negotiable. We are in a social world, and you don't want to be the best kept secret in your business, right? You're a business, so you want people, as many people as possible, to know about who you are, what you do, what you offer, and come to you and take your service. So content marketing, from your blogs to articles to of your Facebook posts, your Insta posts, your pictures, videos, all of these things go into content creation and content marketing. Relationship marketing is basically word of mouth and working with your customers and your peers to give you the reference that they call it through relationship marketing. Now, relationship marketing is something that builds trust, right? People trust you even before they walk into your door because someone told them that you are good, right? Now, content marketing is a push marketing. You push content out, people look at it and go, oh, that's interesting, and I think I want that, right? That's your content. Now, telemarketing, people say, beauty industry, telemarketing doesn't work. Well, I'm here to tell you differently. We reach out to our customers all the time. We do cold calls. We work on with people. We look at our menu. We look at what's the thing that we're doing interesting, and we put it out there to people. And we buy databases, numbers and email addresses, and we push emails, we push content out, and we do get response back. So telemarketing is something completely a push marketing, but it's not to be ignored because it gives you a certain percentage of your clients. Your easy to buys come from your telemarketing, and then they convert to your higher ups, right? And then the next one is magnetic marketing. Our industry is very visual. We are very artistic. We are very service oriented. We are very touchy feely about things. We care. These are things that many other industries don't have the advantage of. Magnetism in our industry that we do, in their industry that we do. The three things that come to mind when it comes to magnetic marketing is education marketing. Like what I am doing right now is I'm giving you a piece of information that's valuable to you. And tomorrow, when I say, hey, you know what, I'm doing something else, you're willing to come out and look into it. So I'm putting myself out there and giving you the information that will add value to you without an expectation of something back. Education marketing can go a really long way. You want to have a small session in your salon about, pimples, or, gives them a little information about how to take care of their skin, hair, whatever it is. It's free. It's available to you. We're experts. We can help you. come on, talk to us. A lot more people are willing to do that, or versus pick up a discount that you're giving them of a 10% or a 5%. Now, editorial marketing is definitely something that you want to consider if you want to position yourself as an industry expert, as an expert in your local area. You want to get onto magazines and news and articles and things of that nature, and create that expert persona for you. Now, author marketing is something that few people consider, but it's not the most people, when they say write a book, you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to write a book. No one cares about you or your life. If your book has a message and a value, people are willing to read it. Now, figure out what's the message that you want to give to the world. And if you have one, if it's strong enough, get out there and write a book, write an article, write a blog, and do things where people will, that's a pull marketing. When people look at you out there and they resonate with you, they will look out for you and say, where is she? Where is Roopa's salon in Bangalore? They will make the call and come out and take the appointment. And these are definitely your high value customers, right? So moving on to the next slide. Now, we figured out that it's important to market. We figured out some of the tools that we can use to market. But the most important part of this piece is, what is the message that you are communicating, regardless of what channel that you use to market, right? One of the most important basic information that you need to have on your branding, on your marketing material, either digital or non-digital, is your message. People buy from people, not from a brick and mortar. People buy people, right? Your brand message, your purpose is very important when you are marketing and communicating of any sort. Your vision, your mission, your purpose. These are things that they're not just there because you need to have it in your salon. These are there for you to connect and communicate to your customer, who is your customer. Well, they say, if you're marketing for everybody, you're marketing for nobody, right? If you're reaching out to everybody, no, but not everybody is your client. To reach out to the customer that's your customer, that will gel with what you have to say, your purpose have to match. So your brand message is very, very important. And the next thing that your message and your communication should articulate is, why buy this? Why buy from me? Why buy now? Right? If you can work on these two pieces of information on your marketing brochure or on your online marketing, what do you call the posts that they say, you don't have to necessarily give a discount. You don't have to necessarily bring your brand down. You are building your way up, and you can, release a new product or something different that you're doing. When you're able to communicate, why buy this? Why buy this service? Why buy from me? And why buy now? You most likely got that customer's attention and will convert that lead into business. The last bit of the presentation is, success is not magical or mysterious. And most of us feel that way because we've seen failures. It's good to feel that way, but you've got to take the next step, take action, and solve the puzzle of success. It's not magical. It's not mysterious. It's definitely the natural sequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. You've learned some basic fundamentals today about marketing, and I hope that you take this time and effort immediately after our session is over, and you take a paper and pen, you write down some things that you learned here and see how you can apply that in your business right away, right? So with this, I'm going to conclude the presentation that I have for you, and I'm going to introduce you guys back to Mark again.
Hello.
Hi there, Mark.
Hello, Rupert. Good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your patience.
No,
I really, really appreciate it. Mark,
you touched on lots of points there, didn't you?
Mark,
sorry, go on.
Please go ahead.
No, one of the things, and I just bring on a couple of points that you touched on.
Okay.
Of course, when you were talking about hygiene you were talking about that marketing point of view, but you know, it's amazing the salons you go through around the world, and I have to say, particularly in India, but not just in India, where the hygiene, let's face it, has been lacking. And I think customers, rich and poor, are going to be looking for that. And I know you weren't talking about that, forgive me, but it just touched my mind, is that, you know, the cleanliness of you, your staff, your salon is absolutely foremost. And I think people will lose a lot of business. It doesn't have to cost you a fortune. Just, I would look again and again. And I would sit, you know, I remember sitting in a barber's chair and I was looking up at a moldy bit of patch in the ceiling as I looked up. And it just irritated me. And of course it wasn't dirty, but it was just, no, so do the journey as your customer. And what does she go through as from entering your salon to having a treatment? And do that journey and see what she sees and really go to town on that. So I know you weren't talking about, but I think hygiene is an absolute factor. And another thing you touched on, jump around, is telemarketing. Do you know, for those still in lockdown, for those, you know, many salons in Mumbai are still closed. And I don't know about India, but a survey we did in the UK, that 40% of people, of salon owners and therapists, were not talking to their customers in lockdown. But actually, that's totally wrong. So we should be reaching out to our customers, shouldn't we? I know of the other extreme where some salon owners have even done shopping for their older customers who can't do that. But also just to ring up, to get in touch. We're still here. Can I do anything for you? How are you? You know, I've had the occasional, not many, supplier ring me up, not to try and sell me anything, but just to say he or she is here. And it is actually nice to hear a friendly voice. And, you know, and those clever who can then go on to the conversation. And some are selling retail products, who are dropping the products off at their customers. Totally, or in England, that's totally legal. They're not seeing the people, but they're dropping the products off and of course, generating some income whilst they're in lockdown. But even if you cannot or don't want to do that, keeping in touch with people. I think, you know, a salon owner I was chatting to in England just last week, and she said, oh, you know, do my customers really want me? And she sent out both on Instagram and on email and on WhatsApp to all her customers and saying, look, I'm going to start taking informal bookings for when we're opening. So in England, we're still closed. And she said, Mark, within literally 24 hours, she had 70 of her customers come back to her and say yes. And it really gave her, oh, I am still wanted. So it had so many benefits to her, both in business and her own psychology. So I would urge everybody to be in touch with people, not necessarily aggressively, but to reach out and use this time. And of course, we've noticed some of the bit higher end spas, the better ones around the world, are offering yoga sessions online. So if you're a bigger business and you've got the resources, you know, it's amazing that people who either, I see in England, but not just in England, two sorts, particularly the spas. Some of the big corporates have like shut down, you don't hear from them, nothing, saving money. Others have done the exact opposite and have reached out and doing all sorts of online fitness, diet, yoga, and are at least, yes, money is still a problem, but at least building their brand, building that commitment and goodwill feeling. So I think if you've got the resources to do that, you should absolutely be doing that.
Absolutely.
And also, of course, as a spa, we know, you know, do we run a spa for the higher end spa? Do we run a spa for relaxation? And there's nothing wrong with that. And for treats, or are we running a spa sometimes to change our customers' lives? And I think this COVID situation, whilst obviously it's having a financial impact on all our businesses, is also probably making us all think about our health a bit more.
Right.
clearly. And, you know, when this is eventually passes or we learn to deal with it, we'll be probably looking at our exercise, our diet. And if, you know, as part of a spa, we're part of that well-being, aren't we? So let's create so that the visit to the spa triggers our lifestyle change, and that we keep a means of keeping up with our clients through digital avenues and through programs that they can carry on at home. And I see that as very much some of the best spas. I shouldn't drop names, but Six Senses, obviously very super high end. Not everybody will say, well, I can't do that, but you can do some of what they do. Right. And you know, they've kept in touch with their clients, and they are building treatment regimes that are away from spa to keep that touch point going until they open. Right. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, this is all information that we need to hear over and over again. Because there's a certain amount of fear in all of us set in because of all of the current situation, and each one of us is going to take our own time and our own pace to be able to come back out and do what we need to do. But if we can keep hearing this, I think it would make a huge difference. So thank you for bringing that point up. One of the first things that I want to ask you was, you had a very interesting last week. You had 3 days full of amazing information sharing that happened all over the world. And professional beauty has made a mark in all over the world in creating a platform for artists to product manufacturers to all sectors of the business to come, hang, learn, do business, and how do you see, you know, after 3 days of listening to experts from all across sectors of the business, what do you see, Mark, for the future this year to next year?
I think it's so different from depending on what type of part of the world you are. Some, as you know, spas and salons are allowed to open, some aren't. But I think there's a couple of points that come out of that. One is to be authentic in your operation. So, you know, if you're Ayurvedic spa and genuinely offering those sorts of treatments, but don't, forgive my poor language, don't bullshit the customer. She might not have a Harvard degree, but she can tell if you're inauthentic, and so be what you are. If you are a city-based salon doing high volume treatments, well, that's what you are. If you're a luxury resort, but don't pretend to be what you're not. And I think that's one message coming out of the. Okay. The second point that I learned is that, you know, there are certain parts of the world that, let's say in Hong Kong, where they have high rents, and no doubt Mumbai too, and other places in India, where do I open if my customers might not come? Right. So, you know, it might not be worthwhile opening. Do I open because will the customers come? And of course, there are parts of the world, probably not India, where you're getting subsidy for the rent and the rates and the taxes. I don't believe that's happening in India. Then it might not be worth your while opening. In the Indian context, and I don't know if you can share your experience in Bangalore, but once you open, you will adapt to the treatment regime. So something that you thought would have happened will be different. Your staff will adapt, you'll become more efficient, and your clientele will build. And unless you've got very, very strong reasons, you want to open because clients will build. Would you say that was true in your experience?
Yes, my salon in Bangalore is open for a week now. We've seen appointments. We've seen our regular customers come back. But like I shared with you earlier, we've had outpouring response for basic treatments, your easy to sell treatments, which is your haircuts, your basic facial, and waxing. We still, our spa is open. We still haven't seen any booking on the spa part. I think clients are going to wait and watch and see how how this whole COVID-19 is going to run through, or even for that matter, I think when the media changes their their narrative a little bit, I think it'll help all the businesses too. As long as the media is pushing fear in the minds of people, I think we're going to see
We have a lot of
more
fear.
touch sales. Yes.
Yeah, and I think in many there is a definite a split of people who are very fearful.
Right.
In any country, there are
Right.
people who are in any age group
Right.
very fearful, and there are those actually who have virtually no fear or very limited fear, or
Right.
I would say greater perspective. And even amongst older people who are more at risk, you'll find that they are keen to get back to work. So it is balancing those attitudes. I think one particular tip of advice, and perhaps was for Professional Beauty UK, and I think India will also, I think it's very important to communicate to your customers that you've thought about this.
Right.
So having something up on the wall or on your website, if you have a website, just to show. So we produced a one-page guide for our UK audience, and I think Vikas is adapting that for India, is just to show the customer that you've thought. It's very important. Now, she may disagree with every little, in England, we have a 2 meter distance. In Germany, it's a 1 meter distance. You can adapt what you think, but I think the client wants to know that you as the owner have thought about this and importantly have briefed your staff. So I think that goes, another thing, a business that we were talking to in Hong Kong, he had a huge surge of appointments, and he is now operating 2 shifts. So because of social distancing, not being able to have the numbers in his, he ran a series of salons. He's starting much earlier and opening much later. So actually, and rather than burn out his staff, is having 2 shifts.
Right.
Which was interesting. And I know a lot of hair salons in the UK are looking at doing that, opening much longer hours, but not having the volume of people, just to make that work. So they're interesting ideas. And he's also, sorry.
So Mark, how do you see this as a world trend at the moment? You had a chance to talk to most countries, and I know each one of them have different policies, but when it comes to the industry, between manufacturing products as well as the service industry within beauty and wellness, what was your inference out of the meetings that you had?
Well, there's 2 things. I think there's one overarching thing. Countries vary, is that there is still a demand for those professional treatments in hair, beauty, and spa. I think there will be certain treatments that customers may be holding back from. But what came out through that week was, in those areas who had opened, there was very much a demand for our treatment. So we're still in demand. So I think that's the travel is also, are we going to be jumping on a plane to go from Boston to Mumbai so often? Probably not. So we need to, particularly, I'm now talking about high-end operations, look at the local market far more. So if you have a business that was aimed at international travelers, clearly, in England now, and that I'm hoping that will, we now have a quarantine coming back into England. So even if I wanted to go to Mumbai and I was able to, coming back, I'd have a quarantine. Now that may stop. But so people jumping on planes will definitely be, for the time being at least, time being could be a month, could be 6 months, 3 months, we don't know. So we need to be looking at our strategies as business to local travel, people who can get in a car locally. So let's, if I'm city centre and I relied on foreigners, I need to work much harder on my local audience, clearly.
Right.
And there'll be winners and losers in that.
What are some of the shifts that you've seen in learning and your learnings in terms of education as a market?
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch on that. One other thing, you mentioned the relationship between distributor and the brand owner. Now, I have seen I'm going to be slightly contradictory. So I've seen a lot of businesses now, the distributor in some territories under pressure. So whereas an international brand will have had a distributor, he or she is now thinking, I'll go direct. Having said that, India, I think, is an outlier in that. In that I, as a Western brand, would be, and if I can find a good partner in India, I'd be crazy not to adopt that route because of the intricacies and of India. But certainly in Western countries, the distributor model is under pressure. And I was talking to one major brand, and it's a Western brand, who's obviously their spa and salon sales have virtually ceased, not quite, but virtually ceased. Their retail sales have gone down, but their online digital sales have almost replaced their other revenues. So
fabulous.
Overall, they're doing okay. So retail sales long term. Now, this again in India, it's in London. I can order on a Sunday, which, as you know, is our rest day. I can still order products in the morning, and normally, sometimes on Amazon, I'll get there the next day. So if I'm running a salon, and I can often sometimes order, not always, professional products. So how can I compete with Amazon? But actually, yet there are salon owners who do fantastically well. And one that comes back to your training, and I'm sure if you're thinking of running a module of that, everybody thinks, well, I can't afford to train my staff. Right. But one, can you afford not to? But also the training doesn't have to be, we're not going to school for 10 months, are we? Yeah. We are making sure the client prescribes the product. Sorry, that our staff member prescribes the product, recognizing that many of our staff members, if they're therapists, they're not natural salespeople, but she can still recommend and prescribe the product. And as we know, home sales often continue the efficacy of that treatment regime. And so if she isn't prescribing that product, she's not doing her job. And there's a vast, I don't care whether you're in a tiny salon in Mumbai or a high-end salon in Boston, if you're the owner and spend time, effort, and reward your team for making those sales, it can dramatically boost your income. And throughout the world, throughout our profession in the professional treatment business, owners moan at their lack of ability to sell. But actually, even with the internet in some territories, less so in India, the good salon owner makes fantastic sales. So the average, and some people in India will sneer at this, average for England is only 12%, 8 to 12%. But good salon owners, of their income in retail sales, good salon owners make 50%. And that's a dramatic difference with effort and training.
Cool. So that's good information about the manufacturing and the product part of the sector. So I'm gonna throw some rapid fire questions at you because we have 10 minutes left and we have a lot of questions. So number one, right? If you were to look at the market shrinkage, post-COVID, and put a number to it, would you be able to put a number to it and say, I would think of this and it could be just a guess?
I don't want to do that. I think.
Okay.
I tell you why. If I'm a luxury resort in a beautiful beach, well, if people can't fly to me, I'm going to be massively down through no fault of my own. If I'm in, Goa has always been more relaxed, but they must have more. It may be that you can't fly to Goa. Well, we certainly can't. You might be able to fly from Goa from India, but you certainly can't fly to go from much of Europe. So I could run the best resort. But however, I could be a city centre spa in Bangalore and to do great business because all those wealthy clients who normally fly around the world aren't.
Right.
So I think it's very difficult to put numbers on the shrinkage of and also long term, because it's, there's all these predictions, everything's going on, we don't need to meet, We can do everything on Zoom as we're doing now. It's going to be very interesting in 3-6 months time where we all are. Of course,
Right.
Any good business,
Right.
we are making changes. Look, as a business, and you are, we all are. The great thing about the COVID, if there is a great thing of all the suffering and the turmoil it's given us, is it's made us look at our businesses again. And I noticed two types of people: those that put their head in the sand and just like ostriches, and those who've used this crisis to look again.
Look at an opportunity and make the best out of that.
So I can't give you a number, I'm sorry.
Now, if I were to look at, if we were to give you a scenario, say an average city center salon spa, medical spa, I would include them as well. What's the percentage revenue that, you think is expected? If let's assume that we made 20% last year, what is the percentage decrease or increase you see this year and next year? Just a general overview of what you've...
Again, I cannot...
Now,
again, I cannot, because it does depend on your location. What I would say generally in terms of, I've seen around the world a shift in advanced treatments generally.
okay.
So in England, and and you're not allowed in all territories. So in UAE, you're not allowed to do what I'm about to say. So salons in the UK employ doctors on either a weekly basis, once a week or twice a week or once a month, to come into their own consulting room to provide advanced medical-based beauty treatments.
Okay.
And
So
I think also, and I should say that this is a hugely growing industry, and I think an industry particularly where India can come to the fore, because in the UK, most of the many of our advanced treatment doctors are originally from of Indian origin, and India is a great source relative to the West of you can have low-cost treatment. So when the travel restrictions end, that is certainly something that I should be looking for. If I'm a high-end advanced treatment medical aesthetics facility, I should be marketing internationally.
Fabulous. We have some comments here that I want to, just put it out there for you. There's Mrs. Suresh Sarda saying, great talk, making me feel like we are attending a top business school. So thank you, Mark. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Suresh, for being on the Zoom call today. Mark, today's theme was revenue generation and marketing. That's why I asked you those hard, tough questions. As a salon owner, not as a business coach, I want to know the secrets of what I can expect for the future. But coming back to marketing and revenues, and we have about another 7 minutes or so. Our industry is unique in in many ways compared to a normal business when you look at marketing and revenue generation. Predominantly, what has worked for our industry, when someone that has a limited marketing budget to someone that can spend elaborately, what do you see globally that has worked for brands and businesses that have made fortunes or even done well for themselves? What do you see a trend in them in terms of marketing and revenue generation?
I come back, and I don't want to be bland. Is be authentic, be true to yourself. Okay. I think people can spot a fake, can't they?
Right.
And I think the great thing about the internet and social revolution and social media, now you get a lot of exaggerated and bullshit people on social media, but there are salon owners who, through their Instagram, is very popular, and other social accounts, whatever's popular in your region, have built their business and have. There's a lot of mystery still amongst what goes on behind the salon door. So they're educating their clients, genuinely sharing tips on how on grooming or so forth. So don't be afraid, be yourself and participate and build it. And I would take, this is where, Roopa, we can run a whole course on social media, can't we? And you could run a whole course on the do's and don'ts and where to start. And I'm sure some of our viewers will be doing it extremely well already, but that has democratized. You get some very some very small players doing fantastic business by being themselves, by teaching their clients stuff and building a following. So that I would be looking at, and it doesn't matter, lots of older people we say, oh, that's not for me, that's from the young people, but you can start at any time with that, can't you?
Right.
Build
So I have one last question for you, Mark. When it comes to an artist, professional beauty has made a lot of platform artists over the generation, over the last few decades. And this is a professional beauty question for you, Mark. If someone's out there who's very good at what they do and would love to explore an international platform, what is your recommendation for them, Mark? How can they get themselves out there, their work out there, reach you, get out there and become a platform artist? What is your advice to them?
Platform artist. Now, can you be specific in terms of they want to show themselves off? How can they do that?
Build their personal brand.
Look, I think what we would try and do as professional beauty, we would, for instance, Roopa, we would be very delighted if you'd come and join us in London and talk about some of your experiences and when we're allowed to face again, or we would promote you on our worldwide network. Or but I think there is also a lot of fake. There are also a lot of fake people, and as I come back to it, I would start by educating, showing what you do, having fun with it, experimenting, and then building. And then if you get in touch, if you're in India, with Vikas and the team in Bandra, in Mumbai that we have, we'd be delighted to share any genuine, interesting, new idea and to start that way. That's why. So we do not, obviously we talk, there's some fantastic, one thing I would say that I noticed, there's one of the distributors that that Vic will share, and I won't share their name. They had a fire. I don't believe they had insurance, and they lost all their stock, millions and millions of crore rupees. And this is and they just got in touch with their suppliers, got in touch with their customers, and the ability and agility and the work they put through and the understanding, the goodwill they had, by, of course, really hard work, but the honesty in their situation as well. Get out there and communicate. Don't be shy of, talk to your customers, talk to your staff. I think a lot of us don't do that. And we assume that, well, it's obvious you should be selling Miss Therapist to the customer. Well, she's probably not a salesperson. She needs to be trained, and training doesn't have to be highfalutin. Training is step-by-step approach, doesn't it, to every member of your team. I don't do it enough to mine, so I'm being slightly hypocritical here.
Well, same here, Mark. We as we're preaching, we're also realizing that we also can do more of this in our businesses, and that's honesty. And at the end of the day, none of us are perfect, and all of us are work in progress. So, it's humble of you to be able to bring it down to that.
I think we need to start, don't we? And I don't care if you're 20, 80, 40, 50, whatever age or whatever, there's going to be some people who are very experienced in the business. And I think we can always learn from our most junior member and most junior member customer as well. Right. And I think we can start. It doesn't, as I keep saying, you can be a fantastically high-based business. Do you know, what you've asked me what's gone on around the world. And what I was also struck was a marked difference between those who are corporate-based, big multinational, and those who are entrepreneur-led. And of course, the entrepreneur-led have been able to, by and large, cope with the crisis much better.
Fabulous.
And because of the flexibility, because they're in touch, because it's personal. Now, there are some great corporates. I'm not knocking corporates. I mentioned one earlier, fantastic business. But there are some exceptions. But I've been very delighted that our business, the internet is upsetting a lot of things in retail, but we're quite some way off of where it's going to replace the haircut or the treatment. Or the
Now, how is professional beauty going to move forward? And I know you're an exhibition, you're an event-based company, and one of the most hard hit as well.
Yes.
So what is your future? What are you planning for the future?
That's a very good question, and thank you for asking that. Well, what we're going to do, we'll be offering far more online solutions, and of course training. So bringing people together online, and of course training. But ultimately, we all social animals. Yes. So for our London and also in Mumbai and Delhi, we'll be looking at when we're allowed to host our exhibitions still. So people will want to meet online, but people will also want to meet face to face.
Right.
And what we're looking at is making sure that environment is more controlled. So we're looking at ways in Delhi and Mumbai, but in our London, we're going to time the entry, have wider aisles, appoint very strict trade and professional only policies, so to limit visitors. So, and I know that Vic and the team in Bandra are looking at appropriate measures for India too.
Fabulous, Mark. Thank you so much, Mark, for all
it's a pleasure talking
your inputs. And it's a lot of information that you gave out. And I'll remember one thing though out of the session: be genuine, be authentic, be yourself, and that's the best way to do marketing in our industry. So is this an inference that I can take out of this one?
So I think you can definitely do that. And get on the phone and get in touch with people and talk to them.
Yes, and get in touch with them even if you're on a lockdown. Don't lose connection.
On social media, don't lose.
Fabulous.
Nice to speak with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. And thank you all of you for being online, for joining us in this session and participating as much as you have. And also, we want to let you know that next week, next Sunday at 6:30 Indian Standard Time, we are back again live and bringing interesting information, loads of information about sales. How do you handle sales within your organization, and more details on that to come. Please tune in next Sunday at 6:30 Indian Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, wonderful Sunday. And thank you, Mark. Have a great rest of the day.
Nice to see you, Rupa.
Nice to see you too. Bye. Bye-bye.